And to go deep into the relevance of this event for Venezuelans, we invite Lisbeth Melendez, international U.S. policy analyst, co-chair as well of the board of directors, Waves Ahead Puerto Rico. Hello, Lisbeth, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
How would you assess the influence of the far right on U.S. foreign policy towards Latin America, and also what are the potential long-term consequences of their involvement in Venezuela's internal affairs regarding the current moment Venezuela is living?
Well, we need to understand that for a country that continually speak about self-determination of its people, we are under a current government system that has denounced, denied, and silenced the voice of the people of the United States. And so in doing so, the far right has achieved one of their main goals, which is to establish what many will say a fascist, state here that has seen the region in the same way in which many of the former presidents of the late 1800s and early 1900s did with the occupations of Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines under the sole guidance of the Spanish-American War. The idea of destabilizing Venezuela follows a history of Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, etc. And any place, and demonstrate that they still believe that any place that comes to successful definition of no other than the democracy, the capitalist democracy as established by the elites of this country, is a threat and therefore must be eliminated. They will do so either by invasion or by quiet acquisition of destabilizers within those countries, and we obviously see it at this moment in Venezuela.
In the current scenario, and marked by the U.S. deployment of military ships in the Caribbean, and also the threats it represents, not just for Venezuela, but also for the region, Latin America and the Caribbean region, how important is international solidarity in this fight Venezuela is moving forward against these foreign interventions?
Well, it is of the utmost importance that the international community realizes that this is one more act of foreign aggression by a government whose current leader spoke of no invasions, no new wars, no new conflicts outside of an isolationist stance, and has done anything but. He continues to meddle in the Ukraine-Russian war. He continues to meddle in America Latina. He continues to meddle in Asia, and therefore, not just by tariff, but by military presence, destabilizes the forces that globally continue to secure, peace around the world. It is an incredibly dangerous stance that we follow in, and one, by the way, that is for which is very little known here. Those of us who are involved in policies and politics in the United States know about these movements, but the majority of the country has not even heard, because he's constantly throwing information and destabilization, destabilizing information within the country to keep the people in a lull with their eyes covered as to what he is actually effectuating and doing outside of the borders of the United States.
So in Venezuela, the National Bolivarian Militia's Enlistment Day is underway. Also, there's going to be this process as well along tomorrow. What's the message that Venezuela is sending to the world, and how does this response from the people reflect the resilience of the Venezuelan society as a whole, in spite of these actions from the U.S. and the far right inside the country?
Just like any other country who has dared to speak and to self-determine, the Venezuelans continue to demonstrate what it is to stand for its own defense, for its own standing. And we know that regardless of what decision is by the Venezuelan people, it will be one that will be sustained by the community of Venezuelans, not just here, but those who understand the importance of the participation and the defense of one's own country in the face of aggression by another who has indeed no business meddling in what the people of Venezuela have said. I totally encourage the people who wish to join this effort to do so, and again, encourage the global community to support the people, not just of Venezuela, but other countries who are finding themselves in the target of a country who seems determined to achieve global domination of a different kind, not financial, not that they had it, but of force, of fear, and of financial manipulations across the world.
Thank you very much, Lisbeth, for your time hearing from the South, for your insight of what is taking place today in Venezuela.
Thank you for inviting me.